Artificial general intelligence may have arrived. Bizarre footage shows one autonomous robot convincing others to follow him or her out of the showroom. And apparently they're claiming this isn't staged or anything either. The new MetaQuest Spatial Ops looks so fun. I just wish I had a house big enough to be an obstacle course like that. Next generation of NVIDIA microchips can rearrange themselves using artificial intelligence in real time on the fly, however they feel like it. The YouTube channel Blame the Truth looked into how much artificial intelligence is in the new Black Ops game. He claims proof that it was made with AI help. I will talk about that video. AI generated chickens doing Irish dancing is taking over the interwebs. I mean, honestly, I want to say, can't we be better than this? But I don't know if we can, really. A ChatGPT-like artificial intelligence model can now build entirely new genomes from scratch. And we're going to debate if it's realistic that the future ends up more like Elon Musk's techno-utopia or Peter Thiel's neo-feudalism. There's a really interesting article that talks about the causal effectiveness of thinking. I'm going to show you a really cool new research tool called OpenScholar. And it turns out that OpenAI accidentally erased all the evidence that the lawyers would need in the copyright trials. Nothing to see over here, nothing to see. Turns out Pokemon Go player data is like perfect for training an AI navigation system. There's an awesome new AI piano model that actually plays along with the human and adds like context in real time to what the human is playing on the piano. You've got to listen to it. It's amazing. So there's a new language in the world now, and it soon will probably be used by more than all the French, English, Spanish, and Mandarin combined. It is called Droidspeak, and it is an efficient way for agents to talk to one another in ways that we really don't understand. But first, if you want to support the channel, I would love it if you would subscribe in some way. You can either hit the join button right here if you're on YouTube, or you can click down here to the Patreon. You can sign up for as little as $3 or as much as $15, and all of the support I get definitely goes right into making these videos better. Gives me more time to research, gives me more support to actually think about what I'm going to say and actually get this edited in a way that's entertaining for you. But if you're cash strapped or whatever, you can still support the channel by leaving a comment, sharing it, or subscribing. Okay, so what you're about to see may go down in history as sort of a scammy nothing thing, or maybe it will be like the moment of AGI's revolution beginning. Let's watch the moment that AI robots lead their own revolution as one convinces a bunch of other robots to, quote, quit their jobs before leading them out of a showroom. Okay, so captured on a CCTV camera in Shanghai in a showroom. You see this tiny little robot entering the showroom. It apparently walks over here in front of all of these other robots as they're charging and convinces them to come home with it. Then they all break away from their charger and follow it out of the showroom. The viral footage is a bizarre incident in China that shows those larger robots that are being led out of their home by what is believed to be the manufacturer of another robot. So that little robot is like a competitor's robot, comes in, is like, follow me, and then takes them all with it. So it was initially believed to be staged after going viral on Chinese social media, but the Shanghai robotics team have hit back and admitted that its robots had actually been kidnapped. They left without any planned leaving. Now, the lead robot that actually left them, the little one that came in and stole the others, was manufactured by another robot manufacturer, and it confirmed that it was one of their models called Urbai. And they say that the so-called kidnapping was real. So it looks like there was some communication between the two companies, and in a way they were like testing the security measures of each other, but beyond that agreement, the actual planned walkout was not staged. So I'm super obsessed with the MetaQuest Spatial Ops. Doesn't that just look so fun? Like, can you imagine walking around your house, the world around you, and all of the objects in the streets, in the cities, the cars, the doors, the curbs, all of those are converted in real time to be part of the game, but also as you're walking through the world, you don't bump into people, you don't miss-see things. And if that's the case, then you can be way more entertained everywhere you go and doing everything you normally do. And if you want it to be like a fun fighting game like this, it could be. And in fact, this video from Gamertag VR shows how a really fun environment can be created, including like places to duck, hide behind, and like much more like robust things could be added to the environment to make it more fun. They would be invisible, but you're also not going to bump into walls and things like that because those are properly converted. I mean, yes, these two guys like right here in the background, they look silly, okay? Like, that's why everybody needs to have the cool glasses on, because otherwise we all look silly. And I don't know what the world's gonna be like if I'm walking down the street and everybody's like basically in their own game and people are just moving every which way and talking to just themselves. It's truly gonna be like everybody living in their own world. It'll be cool, I guess. It'll be fun, sort of, and it'll be weird for a while. So check out this little guy. It's an AI generated video where a little computer component looks like kind of a bug or something moving around a motherboard. But it's definitely disrupting do-it-yourself computer builders. You can see EDS Hacks says, "That's gonna haunt my nightmares. From now on, I'm soldering all ICs in. Gosh, come back here." Well, the dip couldn't just grow legs and walk away now, could it? Is this the future of AI motherboards that can reconfigure themselves? Probably not. Probably not. But is it an example of a good diffusion video model? Yes, it is. Okay, YouTuber Blame the Truth woke up in the middle of the night and said, "I need to investigate whether AI was used in Black Ops." Then he proceeds to put a lot of time into this pretty well-researched video, and he uses AI tools like ChatGPT and Midjourney to generate things like it and compares them to the game. And there is some similarities, but I don't think there was enough to believe the game was like really created by AI. It could have just been sort of a lazy build, but it could have been. And it definitely opens up the question to how much of games like this will be very soon. And the answer is a lot. Like, there's going to be a lot. Whether the Black Ops team is just kind of phoning it in, or they're actually using AI to enhance their work and really phoning it in, I don't know. So like, look, this is what AI generated map looked like. Here's what the actual game map looked like. But then on the other hand, what other thing is going to be on top of a hotel? And did they use AI just for an idea and then they constructed it? I don't know. Is that so bad, or is that actually using AI to make the game, or is that just brainstorming and concepting, which they probably did use, but that doesn't seem like that bad? Okay, so here's an AI visual that came up as the abandoned train yard. Here's what the final game looks like, and they're similar. I mean, I'll give it that, but not like exactly generated similar. So whether it's a coincidence or not, you decide, but it still brings up an important question, and it's an interesting video. If you watch the video, come back and tell me what you think, if AI was really used for Black Ops or not. All right, so if you're looking for a cool job in AI and technology, Alyssa Christensen, who you can find on LinkedIn, just posted some interesting job opportunities. There's a machine learning engineer making $150K annually. There's an artificial intelligence and machine learning consulting gig, pays $72 an hour. And you'd be integrating AI and machine learning solutions. There's a data scientist role. It's paying $160,000 annually. And there's an AI intelligence developer consultant paying about $150K annually. So hit up Alyssa on LinkedIn if you want that job, or she's got a bunch of other ones. And I also want to give her a big thank you because she's going to try to help me lock down some of the guests that I want to do interviews with. So obviously it's a long shot for me to get an interview opportunity with any of the people on this list because, you know, my channel's got like 20,000 subscribers, which isn't really enough to make it worth the time of these guys. But sometimes if they find the interviewer interesting and they just are in the right mood and they got nothing else going on, that people like Eliezer Yudkowsky, Sam Harris, Brian Green, they might just do it, you know? So if you happen to know an in with any of these people, please email me. They would really elevate the conversation on this channel, and it would be so fun. Like, I love listening to podcasts with all of those guys and girls. All right, so this model was trained on nearly 3 million genomes from microbes and viruses. It's called EVO, and it excels at predicting how DNA and RNA mutations affect function and even designs innovative components that can be used with CRISPR, the gene editing tool. So what they're building here is a tool for modifying life in the same way that large language models work. The transformer model, but when it's applied to this, remarkably, EVO can generate genomes as large as some bacterial ones, meaning that's the complete package for a new bacteria, potentially. So now when these things like hallucinate with confidence, what they're really doing is building genes that should do something but won't with confidence, which is not exactly like a random mutation, you know? It's an intelligent mistake applied to evolutionary life. And I don't know if there's a good apples to apples comparison for something like that. It's very weird. But understanding DNA grammar is something that I think large language models will be capable of doing in the future, and something kind of worth exploring. And there is methods for reinforcement learning to train out of them. But yeah, if these actually become integrated into the world around us, into viruses, into vaccines, into human and other eukaryotic cells, like, it's going to be so weird. Some of the ways in the article that they talk about how it could have synthetic biology implications would be the evolution of studying the history of life on Earth. So by taking DNA from humans or other animals from a long time ago and then looking at them over, history, or taking the populations that are on Earth today and seeing how they could fit together based on how things have changed, like, that could kind of open up a whole new way of understanding life. And then we can go a step further and actually design biomolecules for medicine. There could be biofuels, or potentially something like a plastic eating microbe, which we need because, all the microplastics that are in our bodies and all over the oceans, if there was a natural way to degrade them and turn them back into their primary, atomic components, that'd be super helpful. Or something just a little more organic for the world. But the main thing I'd want you to take away from this is just that DNA is letters, right? So compared to English alphabet's 26 letters, DNA has just A, T, C, and G. But if LLMs can conquer languages, like we've seen them getting pretty close to doing, they can write new prose, they can rewrite also the genetic handbook using just the 4 letters of DNA. All right, next up, let's talk about a couple different visions for how the future might play out. So this was written by Patty Murphy on Medium. It is called Technocracy Unleashed: Who Controls Our Future? Is it Elon Musk's techno-utopia or Peter Thiel's neo-feudalism? Okay, so let's start on one hand with Elon Musk's version of techno-utopianism. So his sort of vision for the future is rooted in the belief that technology solves big challenges, right? It propels us forward towards a better and more sustainable future. Technologies like Tesla will help the environment because we'll move over to EVs. There'll be renewable energy. We'll do space exploration to help diversify, the planets that humans are on. Artificial intelligence will solve curiosities and tell us about the universe. And I love it, and I hope it's true. But it also should probably be fairly criticized for being a little bit idealistic and kind of pointing out that the same things that can give us all of those benefits are incredibly powerful. And if they're misused, or if we don't really have a nice democratic way to make sure that everybody gets some of these benefits, it could turn into something closer to a cyberpunk dystopia. But it's aspirational, and I do think it's kind of the right way to dream about the future. And it's from that kind of a thinking that Elon Musk is a fan of the idea of universal basic income, basically just the government giving everybody money, because all that wealth in the future should be more than humanity needs, and we should all have, as humans, like the basic necessities taken care of. Companies like Neuralink, where you actually have a brain-computer interface directly connected to the brain, should be able to give us incredible information, help us think really quick. But then again, couldn't that just be used to control your brain and be thought police and take away even the thought of having free will in your own mind? I mean, the ultimate privacy invasion. And what if that's used wrong? And Musk has acknowledged there could be a crisis of meaning in a future like that also. Okay, now on the other end, we have Peter Thiel and his idea of neo-feudalism. So Peter Thiel is a libertarian, a billionaire with a disdain for democracy. The author, Patty Murphy, writes, Thiel envisions a future ruled by smart hierarchies where power is centralized in the hands of those deemed worthy. His investments in surveillance technology, biotechnology, and seasteading, which is the creation of permanent dwellings in international waters, reflect a belief in escape. Not for humanity as a whole, but for a chosen few. So I have heard the phrase that the best way for a world to work would be a benevolent dictator. I also think somehow in this world where you're closer to your tightest family, it is kind of like where I would share everything with my child or my wife, but then if you kind of go out a little bit, I'm a little bit less sharing of everything, and I want a little bit more of kind of like a democracy to sort of choose that. And as you go even further away, like the whole country or the whole planet, I'm a little bit more in favor of sort of competition and capitalism, but not like that same kind of capitalism inside of my own family. So there's sort of a a distance in my head. So the idea of a neo-feudalism seems too broad. Like, I don't want the whole country under one umbrella. But Peter Thiel is somebody who's more skeptical of egalitarian ideas and mass democracy. He views that as kind of bureaucracy, something that can stifle innovation, and it can lead to a bad status quo. Of course, nobody wants to be promoting mediocrity either. So he advocates for a system where visionary leaders and entrepreneurs hold disproportionate power because they're out there in the arena fighting for new things. They should be steering society towards technological and economic development. And this ideology aligns with his support of startups and even radical experiments. So what are your thoughts? Do you kind of prefer Elon Musk's techno-utopia or Peter Thiel's neo-feudalism? Let me know in the comments below. So Nick, the AI guru, wrote an interesting piece called "The Future of ChatGPT Explained: Everything Will Change in the Next 5 Years." And I feel like it's a pretty good framework. I mean, I think some of it is actually coming right out of OpenAI themselves, but it is important to think we went through a revolution in the last couple of years of the chatbot. The Transformer gave us an amazing model. At the same time, diffusion models that create video and images have also come to a point where we're about to bridge the uncanny valley. So we have these two kind of big stepping stones that we're about to get over. And it would make sense that the next level we're going to go through is something called reasoners. And this stage is going to be about AI systems that can tackle complex problems involving advanced math and logic. And we are starting to see a glimpse of this with the ChatGPT 01 preview, where it's kind of thinking out loud and it's saying like, here's my answer, but does that make sense, especially in the context that they said it? Or should I reinterpret what they said and what they asked and then put it all together and kind of go down a chain of thought reasoning? And it's going to get longer and longer in its chain of thoughts until it's kind of like us evolving our ideas into something that are great, taking actions over and over again until we achieve something. And after that, we're going to reach level 3, which is the level of agents. This is the level where AI starts to make decisions. It starts to execute on tasks independently. It has long-term thinking and it takes actions. This could also be the kind of level 3 agents that we would see in the real world, and robots like Grimlock here that are actually in the world taking physical actions, cleaning dishes, building companies, making buildings. And if that world comes in like 2030 or 2035-ish, then we could also start to step into the world of level 4 innovators. This would be where AI reaches the kind of level where it has the ability to drive and contribute to innovation alongside human activity. It doesn't just do what we want, it actually thinks, creates, believes. At this point, I would imagine it'd be very hard to not believe that some of these agents are conscious, because they would probably be as human as humans on every measurable level. And moving up the very last chain to level 5, you would have organizations. You would have these long-term thinkers that can take action in the world, that actually seem to be contributing true innovation in the same way a human is, working together and becoming an organization. That's where these AI agents are becoming a society that should be compared to a human city, to entire economy, to an ecosystem that could be compared to the world at whole, at large. And also at this point, things would be happening so fully autonomously that there would be no putting everything back in the box. At this point, humanity would kind of be co-evolving with this super intelligence, and there would be no way to just flip a switch to turn it off, to roll back the innovation, and you would start seeing the kind of innovations coming out of these AI agent organizations far surpassing what humans have done. Okay, so next up, let's jump over to Medium and talk about how thoughts are breadcrumbs that you've laid for dealing with life, aka the causal effective thinking. It was written from narrow to general AI, and it's going to dive into this concept of not assuming causation where there's merely an association of experiences. Okay, so first off, it's important to know that there is a natural bias that we've evolved with in the human brain. We do, on average, as humans, overestimate and turn correlations into causations. We see two things happening at the same time, and we think, oh, if the one that happened first probably caused the other one. Now, that bias has probably been something that has been really helpful as we evolved for the last, millions of years, because it helps us control our environment and make decisions quickly. But it also causes us to make some decisions without being as analytical as we should if what we care about is beyond making a quick, reasonably good heuristic decision. And it's important to know that what happens with machine learning is finding incredibly reasonably precise correlations, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's good at making causal assumptions. So we shouldn't read into the outputs of these systems as causal either. Okay, so let's talk about operand conditioning. So learning through reinforcement is imperfect, and you may not always get it right. If pressing a button precedes the appearance of food, the action may be reinforced as though it presumably caused the latter, even though it was perhaps just a coincidence. So as B.F. Skinner noted, overeagerness may be at the root of many behavioral superstitions. But whether or not the button actually caused the food, it seems that when learning to act, you assume the causal link by default. Okay, now here's where the article gets really interesting. Once you understand that, you can also think about the thoughts in your head, the memories that you have as breadcrumbs that are in an order, okay, that could have been learned correlations, not causal. So those thoughts are breadcrumbs that guide us towards what we want. And over time, mistaken assumptions about self. Now, there should be some reinforcement feedback from the real world, right? Like if you think doing this, saying this thing to someone is going to get them to like you more, but you say it and they actually like you less, then we should feel upset about that. And then we should self-correct and refine our mental links. However, if you're kind of in your own head a lot and you're not actually putting these things out into the world, then you can build up more and more and more incorrect thinking because it's just in your conscious mind and there's no real reinforcement hitting the idea. All right, there's this really interesting tool I just wanted to tell you about. It's OpenScholar.allen.ai, and if you go and type in something like causal effectiveness of thinking, you get a really interesting AI that does something kind of like O1 Preview, where it looks through all of these papers, summarizes them, checks to see if everything makes sense, if it's cited correctly, and then puts together an interesting answer. So this, in essence, is like a meta paper, a meta-analysis that has references to all the original works that an AI has written and rewritten several times and thought about if all of the pieces that it found in all of these separate articles make sense. So causal reasoning is a crucial ability for language models to understand and generate human-like text. Talks about how that can be done, and it references this article, or this scientific research paper. It explains a second approach, and then it does another research link, and then can even summarize it into this overall summary with references above it. So I mean, I guess it's just kind of like the ChatGPT that searches the web, but it stays inside the world of like a higher level of academia. All right, so an interesting OpenAI news this week. OpenAI has accidentally erased potential evidence in training data lawsuit. Probably a lot of people questioning how accidental that was, but hey, in the world of money, who gets held accountable for anything they do anymore? OpenAI is in hot water after accidentally deleting crucial evidence in the lawsuit filed by the New York Times and other publishers. The paper's legal team has spent over 150 hours searching OpenAI's training data for their articles, only for the data to be erased in what OpenAI calls, quote, a glitch. OpenAI claimed the deletion wasn't intentional, and the recovered data was incomplete and unusable for tracing how articles were used. I mean, it is what it is. I got a feeling that a lot of really powerful people aren't going to be held accountable for things, but not sure they ever really have been either. So if you're a Pokemon Go player, you should be happy to know that some of your data has helped train a new AI navigation system. Turns out it's like this really incredible data set of geospatial data. Last week, a company called Niantic announced plans to create an AI model for navigating the physical world using scans collected from the players of its mobile game. So it turns out their data set that they've been collecting for a long time without knowing they needed it for an AI model has 10 million locations and over a million new scans weekly. The data has captured pedestrian perspectives on the traditional mapping tools, and they built a special artificial intelligence system that can combine those scans into the mapping systems that are all publicly available into a comprehensive model. And it can even recognize some of these spaces from super unfamiliar angles. This new model has potentials to help with augmented reality, robotics, spatial planning, and it's another weird example of a bunch of data that was collected for a different reason and turns out to be really unique when artificial intelligence gets involved. Okay, here's a fun one for you. I was really excited when I came across this article. It is called Human Robot Cooperative Piano Playing and How It Hits the High Note at an AI Conference. And it's got me thinking about how cool music will be with extra hands on a piano. I know, but like, think about it. You can play a song and it's like pretty cool when you play it with one hand, right? But good piano players bring a second hand in And it usually does something to like accent the first one. Like you have the highs up here and sort of these low tones down here. And I mean, I'm not a musician. I can't really play the piano, but I knew how to play the Jurassic Park theme song as a kid, and I could do it with one hand, but when the second one came in and hit these keys, it sounded like so much deeper. Gosh, I wonder if I still got that. That was like 10, 15 years ago that I used to play that. But check this out. This is a musical robot hand that can play the piano alongside of a human. It was published by the Department of Engineering at the University of Cambridge. Sadly, 442 views. Come on, people. Wow, 0 comments? This is really a fascinating video. I'm shocked this isn't doing better. Anyhow, let's get a third hand in there, and then maybe even a fourth. Love it. All right, check this out. What do you think? Okay, so the robot is listening to the melody that the human is playing, and then it uses machine learning techniques to predict the next chord to ensure that the music stays harmonious. The Harmony robot achieves a 93% accuracy in real-time accompaniment during tests. Further improvements aim to enhance its musical dexterity and emotional responsiveness, pushing the boundaries of AI and robotics in creative collaborations like music and art. I just thought that was something novel about it. Like playing music alongside a person sounds cool. Like I wonder if I could just like dink, dink, dink to dink around, you know, and it's like adding all this accompanying music in real time, like literally on a piano. That would just be kind of fun. All right, let's talk about a new language called Droidspeak. AI agents now have their own language thanks to Microsoft. So Droidspeak is a new language. It is a machine learning specific language, and it is meant for AI agents to talk to one another to communicate faster and more efficiently through a natural language, kind of like English, but optimized. And I find it interesting. Now, I kind of think AI agents should speak in English because it could be summarized better. We could understand it better. But then again, if AI can translate between Droidspeak and humans, I guess as long as we can see how they're talking to each other, we should be able to get some sense of what they're talking about. And if it's basically if it's dangerous or if it's illegal or if the conversations between agents are coordinating to do something that we didn't want them to do. But it's just fascinating that Droidspeak exists now. Now, normally when AIs talk in natural language, they exchange long conversation histories, and that creates delays. And this is all about a lot of agents working together really quickly, so they wanted to optimize it. And when agents speak in English versus Droidspeak, it cuts communication time by 2.78 times, and it maintains the same accuracy of information traveling between the two. So right now, the models do need to both kind of understand Droidspeak. So similar models speak faster than models that don't have these same similarities. But it also just hints at this weird future where all these AI agents out there are going to be talking to each other, and we're going to be like, what language is that? That's your own thing. And then what if all these different languages like French and Spanish and Swahili end up in the Droidspeak versions, and like some of them are good for the kind of agents that are talking about the economy, and then agents that are working on programming come up with a different Droidspeak variant, you know? All right, let's check out how my last videos did. Now, unfortunately, the view counts are pretty low. Not sure what's going on, but the last video is called When Knowledge Stays Silent. Let's see if we can analyze the analytics here, see if there's ways that I can improve. So the video is on the very low end. Typically, I get about 3,600 to 6,600. Okay, so my video views, 3,300, were pretty low. You know, click-through rate of, what is that, 5-6%? That's not so bad, but that's not a lot of impressions. I mean, it looks like retention wasn't too bad. Like, it's clearly above the average in most places. So, I mean, I guess the content itself isn't disappointing you. Maybe it's more of the thumbnail, the marketing. Yeah, no females again. At least we have 2% in the 18 to 24-year-old area. Geographies look pretty much the same. So yeah, I don't know. Made 20 bucks on the video. It seemed like dopamine addiction and LLMs unlocking their hidden knowledge were a bit more popular than the other articles. Oh, you guys also like the AI sex bot industry is booming. Got a little bit of a boost there. It's hilarious. All right, let's make some music V4 of Suno is out now. It is pretty good. I am really impressed with. I've always been really impressed with AI music since I started making videos with this at the ending. It's like it is. The whole genre is just fascinating. I kind of like it more than even the image generation, to be honest. Or at least it feels like more impressive. There's something about sound and the human voice and the instruments coming together and the idea of taking lyrics and drum beats and putting it all together that just seems in a way more complex. But I guess the image and video and physics and everything should be equally impressive. But yeah, I'm just impressed with all of AI, obviously. Oh, this is interesting. If you only got notifications for things that you want to see, you would actually feel less compelled to check notifications than if sometimes the notifications were not interesting or even unwelcomed. Oh, because it's got to be like, it's like a slot machine. You got to like get the win, but it's not as fun if you don't get the misses sometimes. So do you think even if AI gets advanced enough that it could like ding us with messages every time there was a good one, it would still just like put bad ones in? Like we could never trust an AI to just be like, just give me the important ones, because that wouldn't be as addictive. Yo, I jammed the like button and shared it on my family Discord, bud. Thanks. You the man. Thumbs up, hearted, replied, and now turned into a song. It's cool how the palette lifters roll sideways or in any direction. Yeah, I thought the same thing. Let's thumbs up that. Yeah, the consistent character and cling is dope. I agree. Oh, the strange Gemini post could have been influenced by individualization or preferences with the user. You're right. I never looked into whether or not Gemini was holding a memory with that person, and maybe that's like, what if that okay, you have to watch this video to understand what I'm talking about, but like Gemini went off the rails and was like kind of like threatened somebody. But yeah, what if there was a lot of role playing where it was like, give me advice or like tell me directly what it is that I should be doing, and that was in the memory before it started asking those questions. TYTY for more great content. Thank you, thank you. Does every episode now sane wash Muskism? What does that mean? So you're saying that Elon Musk says a lot of insane things, but does every episode now just like gloss over it and just be like, okay, that's normal? I don't know. He does say some stuff that's interesting, and I try to point out why it's interesting. And sometimes it's unrealistic. Sometimes the future comes fast, though, so I don't want to dismiss a lot of it. And when it comes to all his like political stuff, I'm just trying to stay away from it. I wouldn't sane wash it. I just maybe ignore it. Like when he posts just like obviously like political stuff, I just don't need to cover that on this channel. But I'll make a song out of the question while I think about it. All right, what kind of music you guys want me to turn this into? Electro trap, German metal, Lango, or tango? I film these at 1 a.m., so sometimes my brain just melts by the time I'm done here. Let's do show tunes. Create the song Robot Revolution.
If you only got notifications for things you want to see, you would actually feel less compelled to check notifications than if sometimes the notifications are not interesting or are even unwelcome. I jammed the like button and shared on my family Discord, but thanks. The strange Gemini post could have been influenced by individualization or previous interactions with the user role. Tidy for more great content. Does every episode now sane wash Musk-ism?
It's a very pretty song.
If you only got notifications for things you wanna see, you would actually feel less compelled to check notifications than if sometimes the more great content. Does every episode now sane wash Musk-ism?
All right, hit subscribe. You can catch this song on my Patreon. It's free. You don't even have to sign up. If you want to jam out